It's Toby from Heavyweight MMA today with Tasha Flint, boxing champion. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's nice to chat with you.
Tasha, I've seen you pop up a few times on Combat TV, heard of your success with boxing in 2025 especially, and wanted to have a chat with you. Tell us a bit about your journey in 2025. You've had a few gold medals, I hear.
Yeah, so I swapped over. I was representing Team Tonga for the last couple of years, and I swapped over to Team Australia this year. And when I got the green light to go, we pretty much popped into I think it was the second or the third World Boxing Cup, which was in Kazakhstan. And I was able to come home with the gold medal there. Then we followed that straight from Kazakhstan. We flew to Colombia. Then we had a South American tournament where I came home with gold there as well. And then had about ten days break. When I came back home to New Zealand, and then flew back into camp for World Championships in Liverpool, which again was gold. So it's been a good busy year. Um, and it's been all around the world. So it's been it's amazing, like no complaints. Uh, and now it's just time to rest, recoup, and reset for next year.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing, busy year and great results.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about you, reading about you, is that you started relatively late. While a lot of people these days have, had an extensive amateur career from when they were little kids. You started boxing at the age of 26, is that right?
Yeah, about 25, 26. I used to play a lot of sports growing up, a lot of netball, basketball, a bit of footy, but I didn't really start touching like a pair of boxing gloves or a bag until I was, yeah, in my mid 25. So it was just something I wanted to do, I guess, to challenge myself. So actually, naturally, I wasn't really good at boxing either. So I found it quite hard to step and throw a punch, whereas a lot of other sports came quite naturally to me. So I thought, oh, let's just chuck the gloves on for 6 months and see if I can pick it up. And within the first couple of months, I started to really enjoy it. I fell in love, and my first coach, Arnel Baratilu out of Sydney, was like, "Let's get you in a fight," and then just haven't looked back since.
Nice, nice. Do you think there's any deficits in that, like, or do you think it's better to be starting younger, or do you think there's no issues because you've done it? So
Uh, there's always like pros and cons. I think I used to think, oh, I'd fight girls. A lot of girls I was fighting overseas had over 100 fights, and I think I've only capped 22, 23 fights now. So I always looked at it thinking I was more inexperienced, and um, that kind of, I did have doubts in those periods, but then I learned sometimes it doesn't really mean anything, um, as long as you put your hard work in. And I think it helped. I was at a mature state of mind, so I think having that helped me learn really fast. So I was doing like 3 sessions a day, but I was really focused and intent in those sessions. So I was picking up very quickly what I was learning. So I think the pros for me definitely outweighed the cons, but um, I don't think it's necessary. I've realized that everyone's fight journeys are so different. Everyone gets into the sport for their own reasons, but we all kind of end up in the same spot. So no like one journey fits any other person. So to me, I don't think it matters.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously you're best in the world now, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter. And obviously, it doesn't
yeah,
really make you can go that path as well. I think the fact that you're already doing athletic pursuits, that must be transferring over. I think if you just came off the couch, it wouldn't work, but you've
uh,
been working at sports over the rest of your life too. Yeah.
yeah. I think I've always been trained with good discipline, um, and from a sporting background. So it's kind of just it's really the art and the technique that was the hardest thing to get. But me, my mindset, and I love being in a gym and I love training. So for me, that wasn't a hard part at all. Kind of
Yep.
cut the time down in half, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. And I saw mentioned that you're obviously Tongan heritage. Were you born in Tonga or born in Sydney?
Born in Sydney, so born and raised in Sydney. Mum came over when she was in her late teens from Tonga, and then dad is Australian.
Nice. And whereabouts were you raised in Australia?
I was raised just in between Parramatta and the hills. It's a suburb called Carlingford. So
Carlingford.
it's
Yeah.
kind of in the west in the hills.
Yeah, I'm actually from Sydney too. I actually worked in
Oh,
Carlingford at
nice.
one point for maybe a year or so. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the shopping centre there in Carlingford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Not far. I grew up. My family home's not far from there, so
Yeah. And
it's
you're
quite small.
saying so you're from Sydney, but what prompted the move over to working with CKB and Dougie, etc., over in New Zealand? There's quite a few Aussies you're joining over there. Cam
Yeah,
Rouston, the Maoki brothers. Who else is there? Vulcan Bear, a few others, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. There is. It's always good to hear an Aussie accent in the gym. That's really nice. It was actually my personal life, so it was nothing to do with my fight career that moved me here. I'm with my fiance Doug Viney now, so it was just cutting down our long distance relationship, and I was just so lucky that he has CKB here, and that's my second home here. So definitely worked wonders for I think my move as well, moving over to represent Australia as well. So yeah, it just worked out. It was quite funny.
And obviously, CKB is a very famous gym these days, especially in the world of MMA and I guess kickboxing as well. How do you find it there? And like, can you describe like anything about it? Because I mean, not everyone knows about CKB and what they do there.
Yeah, I think it's no matter what discipline you're in, it creates an environment for you to work hard. Um, they're most people are in there from early morning to nighttime. Whereas I think I've been to a couple of gyms where gyms are kind of dead majority of the day. Then they'll have a couple of hours peak high and low. But these athletes are in there working like a full-time job. It is their job for most of them. So it created. Well, I know it definitely pushed me to always be training at my best, and always turn up to perform. So I think it just creates that. It almost creates like an environment for champions and for winners. It's quite special. And then they do have a good sense of humor around. They still have a laugh around, so it's enjoyable when you're not training as well.
Yeah. And I know with the MMA, I'm mostly familiar with the MMA and obviously watching some of the stand-up fighting as well, more kickboxing based. There's a kind of a system that most of the guys follow. Like you can kind of spot a CKB MMA fighter, like the way they use the distance and whatnot, especially in the first round.
Yeah.
Does that same kind of system transfer over to boxing, or is it a different sort of system there?
It's quite different. I think the boxes, we still incorporate that, but Dougie likes to teach quite a different approach as well. He can be quite aggressive in his style, but it is a good mix, I think. And it differs to each person. Like our boxing team is quite different in frames and sizes, so we can't all play that long distance game. So definitely, I think is a bit different on the boxing scene for us.
And how would you describe your style? I tried to look you up, and there's not much online of you actually competing, unfortunately. I saw a tiny little couple of clips, but nothing too major.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I would. It's been a big journey. I think I started off quite aggressive. I was always on the front foot, but um, actually coming to CKB and working with Doug, we kind of worked on keeping that distance and our timing, but shooting off and being aggressive when I need to be. Um, so I'd say I'm definitely a counter fighter and a rangy fighter. Being I'm 6'2", and it's a bit. There's usually a height difference between me and my opponents. So I'd say I definitely enjoy being a smart fighter. I like setting traps and making people make mistakes and making them pay for it. But then if I need to stop them or if I need to end the fight, I'll do that too.
Nice. And in that 80 kilo division, what sort of countries would be your main sort of competitors, the high level competitors at that sort of weight?
We've they're all um, pretty good. I'd say I had a tough fight with Canada a couple times. and Uzbekistan gave me a good fight. So the stands are still quite strong. They are quite strong in the males and the females. They're pretty strong as well. And England as well. I think it's quite mixed.
Yeah. And obviously, like most people in their amateur careers, kind of stuck at home a lot, like fighting on the local scenes. But you sound like you've been flying around everywhere. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting, and it sets you up well if you decide to turn professional later too, right? That you already had that pressure of fighting in foreign countries.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the con, I guess, with being a bigger girl, like 80 kilos, we don't have much competition on soil. Like I think my third, I used to fight at 75, still quite big for the girls, but my third or fourth fight, I had to fly overseas just to get a fight. Like I flew from Sydney to Auckland just to get a fight because there was no one back home that would fight. Um, and the same goes for 80. I think there's no other active 80 kilo female in Australia at the moment. So it was just, I was kind of forced into doing international. It was the only way I was going to get fights, which was tough because I was definitely thrown into that exposure so early where people are usually just, they're learning how to fight still at that stage. But it has helped me grow so much in such a short amount of time. And I think now the pressure for me, uh, I can fight with that without that that um the worry and the pressure. So I do think doing this international experience will help my pro career, and it's a big part of why I'm doing it as well because I do want to be the best fighter I can be.
Nice. And I know like a few of the lads like that fight in MMA, they'll go overseas and they'll fight like one fight and they don't really
Yeah,
get a chance to kind of like appreciate where they're traveling to. They don't really get the time to do too much looking around. But usually the amateur tournaments, correct me if I'm wrong, are over a few days, right? So you'd have a bit more opportunity to kind of check out the place. Have you been doing that?
yeah, we do get a bit of opportunity. I think as much as I love winning, but it does mean we stay in the tournament longer, and it means we have less to visit the country. So, say if you get out the first day, you've got the rest of the tournament to kind of look around and hang around. But for me, I think it has been from Kazakhstan where I won gold. I think before we had dinner, I went back, packed my bags, and I flew out about 12 a.m. to Colombia. So it just depends on the trip.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And where did you like which countries that you've been to? Was it interesting or did you take
Um,
anything from it?
I think all of them were just very different in their own. They were very not what I expected in a good way. Kazakhstan was beautiful. The people were beautiful. I do love Colombia. It had beautiful weather and beautiful food. Um, and England was quite similar to home, so they were all pretty good. Very different from each other.
And when you do these tournaments, do you usually have Doug or someone follow you, or who's your coach in the corner when you're traveling around? They're not always available, right?
No, yeah. So with the Australian team, they get set our main coach, which is Santiago Nieva, and then they pick about, depending on how many fighters, I think 3 to 5 supporting coaches, and they're from all over Australia. They change each tournament.
How is that, man? It must be better if you can have your own guys there, but I guess if you're representing, you
Yeah.
don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. I think it also just it tests how good of a fighter you are, and I would love to have Doug in the corner, but yeah, it's you got to, you know, um, you got to deal with what you get. So, and not saying that my coaches from the Australia team aren't great. They're really good. But at the end of the day, it kind of tests if how well we can adapt in the corner as a fighter and how well we can listen to their calls.
I know that obviously they're experienced and everything, but it almost puts you on your own in a way because you don't have that same connection that you have with the people that you train day in, day out. You know, they really understand you and how you fight, your strengths, your weaknesses. They can see when something's wrong or something's right or whatever. It's a different thing, right? So it is
Yeah.
definitely testing.
Oh, yeah, it is. I think since coming on the international scene, so it was very similar with the Tongan team. I didn't get my home coach at the time, and you really have to trust yourself. Like you can't. put your hands, put yourself in your coach's hands at that point, because you don't really trust them because you don't know them. And I think it's a big thing for fighters. We have to trust who's in our corner, otherwise it's another worry for us being in there. Um, but I think it's a big part of how I've grown as a fighter as well, is just really trusting myself and knowing. I guess you have to know really what works for you and what doesn't. Like, a lot of coaches have their own knowledge and the information, and they kind of give you all they have. But sometimes you can take it in the wrong way or take too much that doesn't work for you. So you just really have to back yourself and trust yourself in those situations.
Yeah. And your Tongan heritage, does that come out at all in your fighting style or your motivation, I guess?
Yeah, it definitely does. I do. I think, like, a lot of my genetics, I definitely think a lot of my power comes from my Tongan genetics. Um, and it does. I think it took me a while to train out of. I just wanted to, like, stand and bang a lot, and it's definitely not something I should be doing. But it took me a while to train that. I think that definitely came from my Tongan side.
Yeah, cool. I could have guessed that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm just guessing that you would have plans to turn professional eventually. When do you see that happening?
Yeah, I definitely do. I would love to turn pro. I think within the next year or so, like I said, like I did start pretty late, so time's not really on my side. Um, and with the 80 kilo division, they don't have too much with the Olympics and Com Games. They don't have weight classes for me there. So ideally for me, there's not much more to achieve as an amateur. So I think quite relatively within the next 2 years, I'd say I'd ideally like to turn pro.
And we've just out of interest there, when you're winning world boxing championships, etc., is there any money in it as an amateur level? There's kind of it's usually limited, right?
Yeah, well, they have two federations at the moment now. So World Boxing now doesn't pay, which is the one that I just competed in. But they do have IBA, and IBA tournaments that actually pay quite well. They do. I know. I think it's for the males. They have their world champs coming up in December, and their total. So the gold medalist, I think it's like $300,000. So
Mm,
that's quite a lot of money, which is
yeah,
crazy. But yeah,
that's crazy for amateurs. What about the
yeah.
sponsoring side? Do you get much support there?
Yeah, thankfully, Australian boxing, they've got some money behind them, so they tend to fund a lot of things. And I do have some great sponsors that have always backed me from day one. So I've been lucky in that way. But Australian boxing, I still think have been a great help for the amateur fighters.
Yeah. And immediate goals, obviously turning pro within 2 years. What about immediate goals? You've got any world championships again coming up in 2026 or this year?
Yeah, I definitely I'll still stick around the amateur scene for at least a year, and try and do the same thing again, and try and be better than what I was this year.
Mm.
That'll be my ideal goal, and goal, and get gold again. Um, and just get that experience. Like you said, it's always good to get that international experience, especially going into the pro scene.
Nice, nice. And one last question. The people like Clarissa Shields have drifted over from boxing to like MMA. Any thoughts of trying a different discipline or just want to stick with the boxing?
Oh, it's very tempting training at CKB. I would, I always say never. I mean, look at me. I started boxing at 25. But my main passion, especially for now, my main passion is boxing. But I don't know. We'll see.
Never know, never know. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Tasha. I appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing your success in the future and when you jump onto the professional stage as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. It was
Cool.
lovely chatting to you, Toby. Thank you for your time, man.
Great. Thank you. Cheers.